There are people in this world who do not want to see you grow. They don't cheer when you win, they don't support you when you're low, and sometimes their intentions are not just passive, they are meant to break you. But the truth is, they rarely come with a warning sign. They show up smiling, they speak gently, they may even pretend to be close. That's what makes it so dangerous. Let's talk about the 5 signs you're dealing with. Someone who doesn't just dislike you, they want to destroy you. Toxic intentions often wear a friendly face. This is one of the most difficult truths to accept, because we are naturally wired to believe in appearances. We tend to trust smiles, kind words, and gestures of familiarity. We want to believe that if someone is kind to us on the surface, they must mean well. But the harsh reality is that not everyone who seems supportive actually wants the best for you. Sometimes the people who appear the closest are the ones who carry the most harmful intentions. They camouflage their motives behind politeness, charm, or even affection, and by the time you begin to sense something is off, you may already be emotionally entangled. People with toxic intentions are not always obvious. They don't always shout or fight or treat you poorly in ways the world can easily recognize. In fact, many of them are skilled in subtlety. They might compliment you in one breath and belittle you in the next, all while laughing it off as a joke. They might act concerned for your well-being while planting seeds of doubt in your mind. They might stand beside you when you're struggling, only to pull away or disappear when you begin to grow. Their words may sound kind, but their energy carries a different weight, one that feels confusing, heavy, or quietly destructive. This kind of behavior is particularly dangerous because it plays with your perception. You start questioning your instincts. You wonder if you're being too sensitive or imagining things. After all, they haven't done anything obviously wrong, but your body knows, your gut knows. You feel a tension when you're around them, a discomfort you can't quite explain, a sense that something is off even if you can't put it into words. And that feeling should not be ignored. It's your intuition trying to protect you. The people who have toxic intentions often study your behavior closely. They learn what makes you feel good, what you fear, and what you long for. They use that information not to uplift you but to control you. They make you dependent on their approval, while subtly undermining your self-worth. They cheer for you in public but secretly hope for your failure. They act like they support your dreams, but only as long as those dreams don't grow bigger than their own. They don't want to see you rise beyond the level they are comfortable with, and when you start to shine too brightly, they find ways to dim your light. What makes it worse is that society often praises surface-level kindness. People who are outwardly polite or charming are rarely questioned. That's why it's so difficult to expose someone with toxic intentions. They may be admired by others, respected in your community, or even trusted by your family and friends. This can make you feel isolated or wrong for seeing what others don't. But remember, your experience is valid even if no one else sees it yet. You don't need a crowd to confirm your truth. Learning to recognize toxic intentions requires you to trust your inner voice more than outward appearances. It means paying attention to how people make you feel, not just what they say. Do you feel stronger after spending time with them, or drained? Do you feel safe or judged? Do you feel seen or manipulated? The answers to these questions matter. You deserve to be around people who genuinely care for you, who lift you up without strings attached, who celebrate your growth without resentment. And the first step to protecting your peace is accepting that toxic intentions often come disguised as friendship, kindness, or love. Once you see that, you can begin to free yourself. People who want to harm you often use subtle psychological tactics because direct attacks would make them too easy to identify. Their power lies in staying hidden in plain sight. These individuals are not interested in physical confrontation or loud conflict. Instead, they prefer quiet manipulation that chips away at your confidence over time. They want to create confusion in your mind, slowly twist your reality, and make you question yourself. This is not just manipulation, it is a psychological strategy that often goes unnoticed until significant damage has already been done. They begin by studying your behavior. They observe how you react to praise, criticism, silence, and affection. They learn your insecurities, your desires, and your emotional triggers. Once they have this information, they begin to use it not to build trust, but to gain control. They might start by making small comments that appear harmless on the surface, but leave a mark on your self-esteem. These remarks are often hidden in humor or wrapped in concern. They may say things like, "Are you sure you can handle that?" or "You've changed a lot lately, I hope it's not for the worse." These words sound casual, but they are designed to plant doubt in your mind, and over time you begin to question your own abilities and choices. Another tactic they use is gaslighting. They deny your reality when it suits them. They tell you that your memory is wrong, that you are overreacting or too sensitive. When you express hurt or confusion, they turn it back on you. Suddenly, the problem is not what they said or did, it is how you perceived it. This creates a psychological trap. You begin to lose trust in your own judgment. You start apologizing even when you are not at fault. You start walking on eggshells, trying to avoid conflict without realizing that the conflict was never about your actions, it was about control. They also engage in selective kindness. They will be incredibly supportive and attentive at times, especially when they sense you pulling away or regaining confidence. They may compliment you, do something thoughtful, or offer emotional support. But this kindness is not genuine. It is a calculated move to keep you close and off balance. When someone alternates between affection and criticism, your brain becomes conditioned to seek their approval even when it comes at the cost of your well-being. This is how trauma bonds are formed. You become emotionally attached to the person harming you because they are also the one who intermittently relieves your pain. Another tactic is triangulation. They bring other people into the dynamic to create jealousy, competition, or insecurity. They may speak highly of others in your presence, compare you to someone else, or imply that other people agree with their criticisms of you. This isolates you further and makes you feel like you are the only one who sees the issue. You begin to feel alone and invalidated. In reality, this is just another way to destabilize your self-image and keep you in a position of dependency. These psychological tactics are subtle, but they are powerful. They are not about momentary control. They are about long-term influence. The person using them wants you to become so unsure of yourself that you begin to rely on them for validation, guidance, and emotional security. They want to become the filter through which you see yourself and the world. And when that happens, they can shape your thoughts, emotions, and decisions to serve their own needs. Recognizing these tactics requires you to step back and examine the patterns, not just isolated moments. How do you feel after spending time with this person? Do you feel stronger or weaker, more clear or more confused? Do you trust yourself more or less? The answers will guide you. Subtle psychological harm is still harm, and the longer it goes unnoticed, the deeper it can cut. But awareness is power. Once you see the manipulation for what it is, you can begin to rebuild your sense of self and protect your mind from those who seek to quietly dismantle it. Destruction doesn't always come from loud attacks. It can be silent. In fact, some of the most damaging experiences in life come not from shouting or visible aggression, but from the slow, quiet erosion of your peace, your self-worth, and your sense of safety. We are taught to look for danger in the obvious places, in the raised voice, in the slammed door, in the visible betrayal. But what happens when the damage is done quietly, when the pain is delivered with a smile, when the wounds are invisible to everyone but you? This kind of silent destruction is difficult to recognize because it disguises itself as something harmless or even loving. It can come from people who say they care about you, who claim to want what's best for you, and who may even believe their actions are justified. But the impact tells a different story. You find yourself constantly questioning your decisions, feeling anxious in their presence, and second-guessing your own emotions. There are no insults, no confrontations, just a steady feeling that something is wrong and you can't quite explain why. Silent destruction works through subtle gestures and invisible boundaries. It's the conversation where your ideas are dismissed without any obvious disrespect, yet you leave feeling small. It's the way someone always forgets what matters to you, or changes the subject when you speak about your dreams. It's the absence of support, the lack of encouragement, the empty space where connection and care should be. Over time, this quiet neglect sends a message that you are not important, that your voice doesn't matter, and that your needs are too much. There is also the kind of destruction that comes from emotional withdrawal. When someone deliberately withholds affection, attention, or validation, it can create deep emotional confusion. You may start to wonder what you did wrong, or how you can fix things, when in reality you are being manipulated. This silence is not peaceful, it is punishing. It is meant to control you by making you crave approval or reconciliation. The person doing this never has to raise their voice. They simply pull away and let your own thoughts torment you. Another form of silent destruction is chronic inconsistency. One day you are valued, the next you are ignored. One moment you are praised, the next you are invisible. This unpredictable behavior keeps you on edge. You begin to base your mood on how they treat you, and in doing so you slowly lose touch with your own emotional independence. You become reactive instead of grounded, and that constant uncertainty becomes a silent force eating away at your stability. Even silence itself, when used intentionally, can be a weapon. Being ignored, dismissed, or emotionally abandoned can hurt more than words ever could. It sends a powerful message that you do not exist, that you are not worth engaging with. It makes you doubt your presence and your worth. And because it is quiet, there is nothing to point to, no proof of wrongdoing, no scene to replay, just a lingering ache that you struggle to explain even to yourself. The most dangerous part of silent destruction is how easily it can be justified or minimized. Because there is no shouting or physical harm, you might convince yourself that it is not serious. You might tell yourself to toughen up or to stop overthinking. But just because the harm is invisible does not mean it is not real. Just because it is quiet does not mean it is not powerful. Some of the deepest wounds are the ones no one can see, and some of the most toxic relationships are the ones that look peaceful from the outside. To protect yourself, you have to become attuned to your inner signals. Pay attention to how you feel, not just what others say. If you feel drained, silenced, or diminished over time, something is not right. Destruction that comes in silence is still destruction. It may take longer to notice, but once you do, you can choose to step away to reclaim your peace, and to rebuild in a place where quiet means calm, not harm. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. This is one of the most important truths you can embrace in a world that often demands your constant attention, your energy, your time, and your emotional availability. Peace is not just a luxury for when everything else is done, it is a foundation for everything else you do.
Without peace you cannot think clearly, love fully or live authentically. Yet many people struggle with guilt when they choose to protect their peace, as if choosing themselves means abandoning others. But the reality is very different. Protecting your peace does not mean you do not care about others. It means you care enough about yourself to set boundaries that allow you to show up in the world as your best and most whole self. When you protect your peace, you are making a decision to guard your mental, emotional, and spiritual space from forces that deplete you. That might mean limiting your time around people who constantly bring negativity or drama. It might mean saying no to commitments that exhaust you, or stepping back from conversations that go nowhere but leave you feeling frustrated and empty. These actions are not rude or selfish, they are acts of self-respect, because when your inner world is calm and steady, you can handle life's challenges with strength and clarity. When it is chaotic and overrun by stress and noise, you become reactive, scattered, and disconnected from who you truly are. Many of us are taught to equate sacrifice with love, to believe that being available at all times is a sign of care. But constantly sacrificing your own well-being for the comfort or approval of others leads to burnout, resentment, and a loss of identity. You begin to feel like a shell of yourself, always giving, but never being refilled. And eventually even the people you are trying to help may feel the effects of your exhaustion. That's why protecting your peace is not about pushing people away. It's about creating space where you can breathe, think, and reconnect with your values. There will always be demands on your time and energy. People will always have needs, opinions, and expectations. But not every demand is urgent, and not every voice needs to be prioritized. The more you tune into your inner world, the more you will realize how often you've been pulled away from what truly matters to you. Peace allows you to live intentionally, instead of reactively. It allows you to make decisions from a place of alignment, not pressure, and it gives you the strength to walk away from situations that may look good on the outside, but feel wrong on the inside. Protecting your peace may involve uncomfortable choices. It may mean distancing yourself from people who have been in your life for a long time, but who drain you. It may mean having difficult conversations, or choosing solitude when others expect your presence. It may mean disappointing people who are used to you being endlessly available, but each of these choices is a step toward freedom. Because every time you say no to something that disturbs your peace, you are saying yes to your own healing, growth, and wholeness. The world will not always applaud your boundaries. Some people may question them, or try to push against them. But you are not here to live according to other people's comfort. You are here to live in alignment with your truth, and your peace is part of that truth. It is the space where you hear your own voice clearly, the place where your intuition speaks and your soul rests. It is not selfish to protect that space. It is wise, it is healthy, and most importantly, it is necessary. Because a peaceful heart is a powerful heart, and when you protect your peace, you protect your power. You can sense when something feels wrong. Trust that. This is not just a comforting idea, it is a truth rooted deeply in your body, your emotions, and your intuition. Long before your mind can form a logical explanation, your inner world often picks up on signals that something is not right. It might come as a tightness in your chest, a heaviness in your stomach, a sense of unease that lingers after a conversation, or a quiet voice inside that whispers, "Pay attention." These signals are not random. They are your internal warning system, a part of you that is always watching, always sensing, always protecting. Yet so many people are taught to dismiss or override these feelings, especially when there is no visible evidence of harm. We live in a world that often values logic over intuition, and facts over feelings. We are told to be reasonable, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to avoid jumping to conclusions. While these are important principles, they can sometimes lead us to ignore the very instincts designed to keep us safe. You do not need a detailed explanation to validate your discomfort. If something feels off, it probably is. That feeling may be picking up on subtle body language, a change in tone,
break in consistency, or an emotional undercurrent that others overlook. The truth is, your body notices what your conscious mind might miss, and it is trying to tell you something. Many people have found themselves in painful situations because they ignored that first whisper, that quiet discomfort, that flicker of doubt. They wanted to believe the best. They didn't want to seem dramatic or paranoid or unkind. They pushed past their instincts and convinced themselves that they were imagining things. But time often reveals what intuition sensed all along. Looking back, they remember that moment when something felt wrong and they brushed it aside. Trusting your instincts is not about being fearful or suspicious of everyone. It is about honoring your inner knowing and giving yourself permission to act on what you feel. Sometimes the signals are physical, like anxiety, fatigue, or restlessness. Other times they are emotional, like sadness, irritation, or confusion that seems out of place. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of awareness. You are perceiving something beneath the surface, and that perception is valid even if others do not see it. You do not need a reason that satisfies someone else, you only need a reason that protects you. If a relationship, a situation, or a decision causes you to feel consistently uneasy, that discomfort is trying to lead you toward clarity. Trusting what you feel does not mean making rash decisions. It means allowing your feelings to have a voice in the conversation. It means pausing when something feels wrong, asking deeper questions, setting firmer boundaries, or taking a step back. It means allowing your internal alarm to matter even when everything looks fine on the outside. The people who truly care about you will understand this. They will respect your need for peace and space, and they will not make you feel guilty for listening to yourself. The more you practice tuning into your instincts, the stronger they become. Over time, you will learn to distinguish fear from truth, anxiety from warning, and overthinking from clarity. But this growth begins with trusting that your feelings are not an inconvenience, they are a form of wisdom. Your intuition is not a flaw, it is a gift, and it is there to guide you, not confuse you. When something feels wrong, believe yourself, even if you cannot yet explain why, even if others try to convince you otherwise. You are allowed to listen to yourself. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your energy. Because when you trust that feeling, you are not just avoiding harm, you are honoring your own power. Awareness is the first step toward protection. Before you can defend yourself from harm, before you can set boundaries, before you can heal from emotional wounds or step out of toxic situations, you have to first see them for what they truly are. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge, and you cannot protect yourself from something you do not yet recognize. Awareness opens your eyes and sharpens your perception. It brings clarity to confusion and begins the process of transformation by allowing you to name what has been hurting you, even if silently, for a long time. Sometimes the hardest part of any situation is the time before you become fully aware. During that period, you may feel that something is wrong, but you cannot quite define it. You may sense discomfort or unease, but doubt your own feelings. You may tolerate mistreatment, excuse toxic behavior, and minimize your pain because it is easier than confronting the truth. This is where awareness becomes both painful and powerful. Once you begin to see clearly, you can no longer pretend you are blind. Once you feel the weight of truth, you are called to respond, even if that response is slow and uncertain at first. Awareness is not always a sudden realization. Sometimes it comes in layers. You might start by noticing that certain people leave you feeling drained after every interaction. You may begin to observe that your voice is constantly silenced, that your efforts are never enough, or that your emotional needs are regularly dismissed. These observations are the beginning of your awakening. They are small signals that your inner self is starting to rise and speak. Awareness is that rising. It is the moment your eyes adjust to the light after being in the dark for too long. As you grow in awareness, you begin to make connections between your emotional experiences and the behavior of others. You begin to see patterns, not just incidents. You realize that the anxiety you feel is not random but triggered by consistent disrespect. You notice that your self-doubt is not a personality flaw but a result of long-term invalidation. You understand that peace is not just the absence of conflict but the presence of safety and respect. These insights are not just enlightening, they are empowering because they give you the knowledge you need to start protecting yourself. Protection looks different for everyone. It might mean setting firmer boundaries, learning to say no, or creating distance from people who take more than they give. It might mean leaving a toxic environment or changing the way you show up in relationships. But none of those steps are possible without awareness. You have to know what you are protecting yourself from and why it matters. When you see the truth clearly, you can choose differently. You no longer act from habit or guilt, but from intention and strength. Awareness also means becoming more attuned to your own emotions, your own needs, and your own limits. It means listening to your body when it tells you it is tired, stressed, or uncomfortable. It means recognizing your emotional responses as messages, not as weaknesses. This kind of self-awareness is one of the most powerful tools you can have, because it teaches you to protect not only your external boundaries, but your inner peace. There is nothing passive about awareness. It is active living. It is choosing to stay awake when it would be easier to go numb. It is choosing to look honestly at your life even when what you see is difficult or painful. But in that choice is freedom, in that choice is healing, and in that choice is protection. Because once you are aware, you are no longer powerless. You are no longer asleep. You are no longer stuck in cycles you cannot name. You are equipped with the insight to make better decisions and to build a life that honors your worth. Awareness is where it begins, and from there, everything can change. You don't have to fight sometimes. Walking away is the strongest move. We are often taught that strength means standing your ground, raising your voice, and never backing down. The world glorifies the image of the warrior in battle, the one who confronts every challenge head-on and refuses to surrender. But not all battles are worth fighting, and not every situation deserves your energy. Sometimes real strength is not found in resistance, but in release. It takes courage to walk away from something that is harming you, confusing you, or holding you back, especially when part of you still wants to stay and fix it. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, it is a powerful act of self-respect. It means you are choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and healing over hurting. When you walk away, you are not running from the problem. You are recognizing that the environment is no longer safe or healthy for you. You are choosing to protect your energy and prioritize your well-being, even if it means disappointing others or facing uncertainty.
That kind of decision requires more inner strength than any argument ever could, because it demands that you trust yourself even when others might not understand. There are times when staying and fighting feels like the only way to prove your worth or to defend your truth. You may think that if you just say the right words, if you explain your side, if you hold on a little longer, the situation will change. But not everyone is ready to hear you. Not every relationship is meant to be repaired, and not every situation can be salvaged. Some people do not want resolution, they want control. Some conflicts are not about truth, but about power. In those moments, walking away is not giving up, it is choosing not to be manipulated anymore. When you walk away, you reclaim your power. You say, I am no longer available for disrespect. I am no longer willing to shrink myself to fit into places that do not value me. I am no longer sacrificing my peace to win a war that should never have started. This kind of choice is often quiet and unseen. There are no dramatic exits or public declarations, just a steady step toward freedom. You begin to realize that peace is more important than being right, that healing is more valuable than revenge, and that your soul does not have to stay where it keeps getting wounded. Walking away also opens space for something new to enter your life. As long as you are consumed by a toxic situation or draining relationship, you cannot fully receive what is meant for you. When you let go, you create room for better connections, healthier environments, and deeper joy. You learn that not every ending is a failure. Sometimes it is a doorway. Sometimes it is a return to yourself. This choice is not easy. You may face doubt, guilt, or fear. You may wonder if you did enough, or if you gave up too soon. But time will show you that the strongest decisions are not always the loudest ones. They are often the ones you make in silence, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering you on, when you listen to your inner knowing and choose yourself even when it hurts. There is dignity in walking away from what no longer serves you. There is strength in releasing the need to fix things that are not yours to fix. And there is wisdom in knowing when the fight is no longer worth the cost. So if your heart is heavy and your spirit is tired, know this: you do not have to fight every battle. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose peace. And in doing so, you are not breaking down, you are breaking free. In the end, the greatest battles we fight are not always the ones the world can see. They are often the silent ones within us, the decisions we make to honor our peace, to listen to our intuition, and to walk away from what harms us even when no one else understands. We live in a world that teaches us to endure, to prove ourselves, to stay even when everything inside us says leave. But real strength is not always in holding on. Sometimes it's in letting go. Sometimes it's in having the courage to say, this is not for me, this is not love, this is not safety. Awareness is the beginning of transformation. It is the moment we stop denying and start seeing, when we finally accept that something feels wrong, that we are not being valued, that we are not at peace. That is the moment we begin to take back our power. And protecting that peace is not selfish, it is necessary. Because when you are whole, when you are grounded, when you are no longer distracted by chaos, you become who you were meant to be, fully present, fully alive, and fully free. So trust yourself, trust what you feel. You do not need to fight every time. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone. You only need to be loyal to your own truth. And if that truth tells you to walk away, then walk with grace, with strength, and with the quiet confidence that choosing yourself is the strongest move you will ever make. Thank you.